Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Coffee, where in today's episode we're going to be talking about how Emperor Palpatine survived and why he's appearing in The Rise of Skywalker. That's today here on Star Wars Coffee. Welcome back to all of the returning subscribers, but if you're new to the channel and you're just finding me for the very first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on this video and any other video from the channel that you check out, and be sure to hit that notification bell so that you're always notified the second a new video goes live. Alright, with that being said, we're going to get into why Palpatine survived after Return of the Jedi and after Vader threw him into the Abyss, and why it makes sense for him to come back in The Rise of Skywalker. So I'm going to throw in my own reasons here, but I have found a pretty good, starting point for us to jump off of with Spoiled Blue Milk by Dave Stir over there, and it's called Why Palpatine Makes Sense for The Rise of Skywalker. So we're going to go over some of their reasons, and I'm going to throw my own in at the same time. So the first thing I want to bring up is a quote from J.J. Abrams, and Spoiled Blue Milk mentions this as well, and this is one of the things that made sense to me when we heard Palpatine's laugh in the very first trailer we got for The Rise of Skywalker, and the quote is as follows. If you look at the first 8 films, all the setups of what we're doing in Episode 9 are there in plain view. And it makes sense that this is referring to Palpatine, because he's in the prequel trilogy, he's in the original trilogy, and now he's going to be in the sequel trilogy. He's had a major role in the first 6 films, essentially, and he's now having a cameo in 7 during Rey's vision. We kind of really skipped over him completely in The Last Jedi with all of the Snoke stuff, but now he's back in The Rise of Skywalker. So that alone, that he's been a part of each trilogy thus far, makes perfect sense. Not to mention that he's in the Clone Wars, he's in Rebels, so it all really ties together nicely. So I can see where JJ would find that decision to do it. Alright, next point. Force users can break their own fall. The idea that a Force user could exert a force on themselves has already been established, reading now from Spoiled Blue Milk. In Season 2 of the Clone Wars, Anakin and Ahsoka can break their own fall using the Force. Then why can't Palpatine, one of the most powerful dark side Force users around? Isn't it possible that the giant flash of light we saw was actually the energy released from a massive Force push to break his own fall? It's fair to say that Leia's Force flight in the weightlessness of space in The Last Jedi was a bit controversial for some, but with the ability to use the Force to exert a force on yourself already being canon, doing this action in the weightlessness of space would be even easier, making Leia's Force move all the more plausible. And I really liked how Spoiled Blue Milk set this up, because this is something that I was going to talk about as well. I wasn't thinking of the Clone Wars example, but I was thinking of the Last Jedi example, where we see Leia essentially dead in space, coming back to use the Force to fly herself back in. So if they can do that, and Anakin and Ahsoka can break their own fall using the Force, when Anakin is still just a Jedi Knight, and Ahsoka is just a Padawan, essentially still, and a regular Jedi, then why can't Palpatine, who's been around far longer than both of them, who's studied both sides of the Force, who is able to be more powerful than any other Jedi or Sith, considering the fact that he's been around so long at this point, then why wouldn't he be able to break his own fall, even if he was caught unexpected by Darth Vader, being overthrown because of their familial bond? It would still justify the reason that with all of this already being canon, with breaking the fall using the Force and flying using the Force, that Palpatine would very easily be able to save himself, especially considering that in Star Wars all of these Abyss are ridiculously long and seems to be bottomless, but at some point they gotta stop somewhere. So by the time Palpatine would realize what have happened, he would have been able to stop and use the Force to make sure he hadn't died. Alright, another reason. Palpatine studied how to cheat death. Reading again from Spoiled Blue Milk. Palpatine would be around 123 years old in The Rise of Skywalker. Either way, he is many years over 100, so how could this guy still be alive? The answer was given to us in Revenge of the Sith. Clearly, Palpatine was studying ways to cheat death, and had been for a long time. Perhaps many of those Sith techniques used to cheat death also can be used to prolong life. On the one hand, Palpatine has said that Plagueis taught his apprentice everything he knew, then his apprentice killed him in his sleep. As we know, Palpatine was that apprentice. That said, he also told Anakin to cheat death is a power only one has achieved. But that doesn't mean that Palpatine didn't learn this power as well. Palpatine could have learned enough to prolong his life for decades, explaining how he could be this old long after he used the Force to break his fall. And this makes sense as well, considering Plagueis had trained Palpatine. Palpatine learned this information and was able to learn this skill and perfect this skill to the point where he was able to kill Plagueis in his sleep, being the most powerful Sith alive. And I'm going to throw out just something from the Rise of Skywalker plot leaks that we've gotten thus far, so I'm going to throw out a quick spoiler warning. You might want to skip ahead 30 seconds. Okay, if you don't want to know any spoilers, starting now. Okay, so Palpatine is supposed to be, when we find him, hooked up to this machine, kind of like a life machine, which is going to prevent him from being killed, and he's going to be tended to by guards and medics, Star Wars medics, so that he's able to be sustained alive. So when we meet him in the Rise of Skywalker, he's not going to be all powerful. He's going to look like he's been on the verge of cheating death, but the fact that he's still cheating death is still cheating death, and he's still alive, so that's that. Alright, spoilers done. If you skipped ahead, spoilers are now done. Final thing we're going to go over: pulling the strings behind the curtain. Reading once more from Spoiled Blue Milk, this is their final reason. Palpatine has always been the master puppet behind the scenes. Everything has transpired as he has foreseen. Could it be that a major twist of the Rise of Skywalker will be that events of Return of the Jedi that led Palpatine's undoing was in fact part of his elaborate plan? He created a false chosen one so that he could fake his death and regroup in the unknown regions, where he has been building his army ever since. Snoke is someone he met in the unknown regions, and who may have been under Palpatine's orders. By not showing up in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi in the flesh, Palpatine has bought himself more time to prepare his return. If this is true, it will, to me, make sense in terms of everything that has led up until this point. At the same time, it will be a pretty satisfying twist. And this argument really resonates with me. I think that this would make sense. I would say that it wasn't part of Palpatine's plan to be thrown over an abyss and have to go into the unknown regions, but I would say it would make sense for him to have that contingency plan, because in Battlefront 2, which that story is canon, he had a contingency plan already prepared. We know that, so it's perhaps this is another one of his contingency plans that he had, because he's clearly wise enough and smart enough and well advanced in the Force enough to be able to do all of this and build up his massive army in the unknown regions while using Snoke as a complete pawn. Alright, so that is the end of today's video. Let me know what you guys think about Palpatine's return in The Last Jedi, how you think he was able to cheat death for so long. Thank you guys for watching, God bless, and may the Force be with you.